I was able to nab myself a Spring Kagero, so let's talk about the Lethal Carrot Dagger. The Dagger class is just so interesting to me since it really has a lot of unique debuffing weapons and no one uses them that much. Spring Kagero is another great dagger user and she comes with a new inheritable dagger, the Lethal Carrot Plus. Lethal Carrot is essentially the dagger version of Wo-Dao, meaning it grants plus 10 extra damage when specials proc. It also comes with the standard dagger debuffing effect, which is a -7 defense and resistance debuff to the target and all enemies within 2 spaces of them. Lethal Carrot is another offensive oriented weapon for the class, but there are a few restrictions I want to mention that the Wo-Dao doesn't have to deal with when creating a build. So first off, dagger units being ranged cannot use the Wrath B skill, and they can't use Steady or Warding Breath to get that easy cooldown reduction. Spring Kagero herself, being a flyer, cannot use Flashing Blade, so keep that in mind as well. Now let's talk about a few build ideas because Lethal Carrot is also the first ranged physical damage weapon with this effect. So a simple build idea is to focus on all-out offense, and you want to be proccing specials as often as possible to take advantage of the plus 10 damage. This means 2-turn specials like Moonbow or Glimmer are great options and get a decent damage boost. Since daggers struggle a bit with getting extra cooldown reduction, we can use Heavy Blade paired with high base attack users to proc Moonbow in one round of combat if they attack twice. To help this, Life and Death is a hefty attack and speed boost, but will probably leave you with a very squishy ranged unit. You can substitute in Flashing Blade in the A slot for dagger units who are not Spring Kagero, although you won't be able to get as much attack or speed from a Sacred Seal. The assist skill, B skill, and C skill are all pretty flexible. If you face really fast units, you can utilize a breaker skill to always ensure you double attack them. The C skill can be something like Threat and Defense to get that little extra damage boost, or you can go for a buffing skill. Lethal Carrot is best used when activating a lot of specials, so fast units will be good candidates for this type of build. Next, we have an interesting build that is more of a team setup. Sonya and Merrick used to be the only ones with access to a ranged Wo-Dao type weapon, but Lethal Carrot can fill the same role and thus can copy the same type of build that some people like to use with Dark Excalibur. We're going to use Infantry Pulse to set up a special that is ready to proc on turn 1. Being on a ranged unit is also a bonus, meaning the enemy may not even be able to reach you before they get hit. This is great for Arena, where you can start the match with not only a special ready, but that special gets an extra plus 10 damage. If you use Quicken Pulse and Moonbow, you only need 1 Infantry Pulse teammate, but you can really use as many as you want, up to 3. This will affect which special you will use, since you could then use a 3-turn special or even powerful 4-turn specials. This setup is a bit gimmicky, but it's pretty legitimate honestly. If your Lethal Carrot user is powerful enough, they can pretty much guarantee a free kill, and I could see this strategy being fun to use as a defense team. Unfortunately, Spring Kagero is a flyer, so she cannot participate in this build, but we have a few powerful infantry dagger units like Soth or New Year's Takumi. This last build is a focus on area of effect specials, and that is because the extra plus 10 damage from Lethal Carrot will apply to these AoE specials. I know these specials are still pretty underused, but they aren't that bad thanks to the reduced cooldown they got and all special cooldown reducing skills we have gotten. Keep in mind there are 2 types of area of effect specials. The ones prefaced by growing have a larger spread but doesn't increase damage. Meanwhile, the blazing specials have a 1.5 times multiplier to damage done, but keep a smaller spread that may be harder to hit onto multiple enemies. Since Lethal Carrot adds a flat plus 10 damage, I think the growing specials are better suited, and I would recommend growing Wind, Flame, or Thunder. Growing Light is just a very odd pattern, but it can work, it's all situational really. So again, to charge these specials, we can use Heavy Blade and you only need 2 attacks. Although, we can combine an AoE special with the last build setup, and if you do have 3 Infantry Pulse teammates plus are using Quicken Pulse, you will have an Area of Effects special fully charged on turn 1. It's a lot of investment, but you get some insane power to start off the fight. Your ranged unit can decimate a whole team, and for those stragglers left standing, you can even use Vantage to take them out. I don't think you will see this setup very often, but it could be a fun way to trip up opponents to get those arena defense wins. The Lethal Carrot Dagger is another good option for an offensive-oriented build. The last 3 dagger units added to the game, including Spring Kagero, are all top of the class for an offensive stat line. Soth has his Peshcats and Takumi has his Kogami Mochi, but both of them could effectively use this dagger. Spring Kagero herself is a pretty good user of this weapon, and in general you want someone who is fast enough to double often and charge up special more. As good as Lethal Carrot is, I'm disappointed that another inheritable dagger weapon has been locked to a limited time unit. I don't think it stops them from making another dagger weapon with the same effect, but it sucks that a class which is already struggling keeps getting new units and weapons which are limited time only. Soth and Jafar are the only 2 new dagger units added to the permanent summoning pool in more than a year, and that's kinda sad. They did a good job buffing up dagger units, but they really need to stop limiting weapon options for this class. My last comment is that since dagger units are ranged attackers, they do have limited ways to get cooldown reduction. Melee units can use Wrath for the extra plus 10 damage effect, and they can use slaying weapons as well as steady or warding breath. Heavy Blade and Flashing Blade are really the only ways range units can get reduced cooldown effects, and for Lethal Carrot, that's what you really want. Dagger units can still use it well, but there's just not the same amount of tools for them to choose from just yet. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and for those of you interested about Spring Kagero, I am going to be making another battle testing video dedicated to talking about her more and my experience using her so far. If you want to see some gameplay of Spring Kagero in action, then be sure to stay tuned. That's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.